Abraham was the father of Isaac, and Isaac the father of Jacob, and Jacob the father of Judah and his brothers. And Judah was the father of Perez and Zerah by Tamar. And Perez was the father of Hezron, and Hezron the father of Aram, and Aram the father of Amminadab, and Amminadab the father of Nahshon. And Nahshon was the father of Salmon, and Salmon the father of Boaz by Rahab, and Boaz the father of Obed by Ruth, and Obed was the father of Jesse. Jesse was the father of King David, and David was the father of Solomon by the wife of Uriah.
So, who are all these people? And does it really matter? As far as I can make out, this passage doesn't appear in any of the regular lists of readings set for Sundays and weekdays, and I'm pretty sure that most of us skip over it in our own reading. Yet perhaps we are missing out. Matthew has chosen his list of names with some care, and even if most of those gathered to listen were still settling down and getting comfortable, they would very soon have been doing a double take. Abraham, yes. Isaac, yes. Jacob, Judah, Perez and Zerah, Tamar. Tamar? What's she doing there? And then Rahab, and Ruth, and the wife of Uriah, who doesn't even get a name, though we know from elsewhere that she is Bathsheba. What is going on? None of these needed to be named. Matthew names none of the other wives and mothers. He could have included Sarah, Rebecca, Leah and Rachel, the wives of the three greatest of the patriarchs, Abraham, Isaac and Jacob, and were often known as the matriarchs. Very suitable. But Matthew chooses instead 4 women who would have been seen as controversial at the very least. Ruth gets a pretty good press on the whole, loyal and devoted, but she was a foreigner and could have been regarded as contaminating the bloodline. Tamar, though, deceives her father-in-law Judah into having sex with her. Rahab is known to be a prostitute, and Bathsheba rather unsubtly takes a bath just where she's bound to be seen and desired by King David. So by verse 6, Matthew's audience would have been on the edge of their seats, dying to discuss all this with their friends. Jesus, the Messiah, son of David and son of Abraham, is being depicted from the beginning as someone who overturns expectations, who outrageously excludes no one. So what might this mean for us today? Fascinating though these 4 brave, decisive characters are, we shouldn't forget the others. They are just as necessary. Not only Abraham, Isaac and Jacob, but also Salmon, who features in the Bible only as son of Nahshon and father of Boaz. Or Aram, whose very name changes between the Old Testament and the New. All of us are represented here. These ancestors of our faith, these matriarchs and patriarchs, upon whose metaphorical shoulders we stand, are just the same as us. Some of them great leaders, movers and shakers, prepared to seize the initiative. Others quiet, inconspicuous, just getting on with life as best they can. Weak, wobbly, gifted, wise, they're all there. We are all there. We are the matriarchs and patriarchs of the future. So it must be on our shoulders, the shoulders of the faulty and sinful, the homeless and dispossessed, the loved and the unloved, that God is building his heavenly kingdom. And that is both a terrifying and a glorious thought to take with us into Advent.
The first candle of Advent commonly represents the patriarchs. People like Abraham here, receiving bread and wine and a blessing from Melchizedek, king and priest. But as we've just heard, Matthew introduces us to a cast of other characters, some surprising, some ordinary, and many of the men and women flawed. This reminds us that God has built his church on generation after generation of humans. The good, the bad, and the ordinary. And it continues, as Robert said in his sermon on Stir Up Sunday, the effect of your behaviour will ripple throughout all eternity. So we, in this generation, by our witness, by our faith, by the fruits of our faith, will be the matriarchs and patriarchs for the next generation. Amen.